This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Barack Obama compares Donald Trump to an old, tired movie and says it's time for Kamala Harris. I'm Steve Futterman at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.
The top of the Republican ticket focused on crime today.
Kamala Harris will deliver crime.
I'm Shelley Adler.
Considering the possibility of RFK Jr. teaming up with Trump.
I like him a lot. I respect him a lot.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Battleground state to include the abortion issue on the ballot. What to watch for there.
On Wall Street, stocks snapped a rare 8-day winning streak with a day in the red yesterday. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Disney is dropping its argument that a wrongful death lawsuit should be dismissed because of the fine print on a Disney Plus subscription. I'm Archie Zaraletta with the latest.
All ahead on America in the Morning. While Kamala Harris packed the same arena in Wisconsin that was the home to the Republican National Convention, Barack and Michelle Obama were the key speakers in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention, imploring followers to get to work while also taking aim at Donald Trump. With a recap from the Windy City, here's our Steve Futterman.
It was just a formality, but on night two, Democrats held the traditional roll call, with delegates state by state casting their votes.
California, we proudly cast our 482 votes for the next president, Kamala Harris.
In reality, before the convention even began, Kamala Harris had already been officially nominated. As the roll call was taking place, Harris was 80 miles away in Milwaukee at a campaign rally. At the end of the roll call, though, she addressed the crowd here on a video link.
Well, they just completed their roll call. And they have nominated Coach Walz and me to be the next Vice President and President of the United States of America.
The featured speaker last night was a Chicago favorite, Barack Obama, who received a huge ovation as he went after Donald Trump.
We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse. America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President, Kamala Harris.
Also speaking was Michelle Obama.
America, hope is making a comeback.
And the night even included a Republican, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, John Giles, who told the convention why he cannot support Trump.
I feel more at home here than in today's Republican Party. The grand old party has been kidnapped by extremists and devolved into a cult. The cult of Donald Trump.
Tonight will feature the VP candidate Tim Walz as he delivers his acceptance speech. I'm Steve Futterman at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.
As Democrats cast their delegates for Kamala Harris at the convention, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance continued their battleground state swing, with the former president in Michigan and his VP choice speaking in Wisconsin. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports crime was on the agenda.
The Republican Party is now the party of common sense. Conservative? Yeah, I guess conservative. It doesn't matter. It's the party of common sense. We want to have borders. We want to have strong police protection. We want a military that can protect us. We want great schools, school choice, ideally. We want to have a good life.
The top of the Republican ticket focused on crime today.
Crime and all, but it's very dangerous in terms of a possible World War III. We're very close to World War III, and people don't realize it. We're closer than we've ever been, I think, ever since World War II, but this would be the war of wars because of weaponry. This isn't, as I say, 2 army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. The level of power, the level of weaponry that there is in the world today is so bad.
Speaking in Howell, Michigan, former President Donald Trump says crime will be out of control under a Harris administration.
Kamala Harris will deliver crime, chaos, destruction, and death. If she's allowed to be the president of the United States, you'll see levels of crime that you've never seen before.
To Wisconsin and VP candidate J.D. Vance, he brought up crime when he was asked about the Democratic convention.
The contrast between the public safety policies of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is really striking. And it's almost a joke to me that they held it in Chicago, which has become the murder capital of the United States of America, thanks to very failed Democrat leadership.
Vance called for tougher prosecutors and pledged to end what he called frivolous lawsuits against police.
I watched last night in amazement as they tried to pretend that everything was great, the crime was great, the border was great, there wasn't a problem at all, no inflation, no nothing.
I'm Shelley Adler.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. The abortion issue makes the ballot when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Triple-digit high temperatures persist for many across the nation. Welcome back to America in the Morning. Here's today's forecast from AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
For the southern United States, relief from this lengthy heat wave is not expected today, with places from southern Kansas to New Mexico, most of Texas, and all of Louisiana facing high temperatures not far below or even a few degrees above the triple-digit mark, again putting some daily record highs at risk of being broken. As these dangerous conditions persist, the risk for heat-related illnesses will only grow before the chance that some of these locations can have slightly lower temperatures toward the end of the week. In terms of today's precipitation threats, the High Plains faces the risk for severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening, as places from the U.S.-Saskatchewan border southward through Colorado are in line for thunderstorms that may contain downpours, hail, and strong winds. Another area where mainly afternoon thunderstorms can build extends from Colorado to the southwestern states, with monsoon storms most likely from northern New Mexico through Utah and Arizona. Showers are also expected today for western Washington, parts of northwestern Oregon, and perhaps even northern Idaho and western Montana, but most other spots in the west should have a dry day today. A large zone from the Great Lakes through the Mid-Atlantic states and even into the interior of the southeast should have an exceptional day today with comfortable temperatures, rain-free conditions, and low humidity, especially by August standards. Showers will be possible from New York State into New England as a disturbance crosses the area, with perhaps some thunder in spots. Showers and storms can also track from South Carolina to Florida, but most of the east is in for an unusually nice day overall. In Detroit, expect plenty of sunshine with a high of 74. In Denver, clouds and sun give way to a thunderstorm that may bring hail and damaging winds today with a high of 91. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s running mate is laying out the options for the independent campaign as momentum grows around presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
The Republican frontrunner in the race for the presidency, former President Donald Trump, was asked if he's considered offering RFK Jr. a spot in his administration if he wins.
We haven't, but I would love that endorsement.
Trump was pressed by CNN.
I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen.
The comments came shortly after Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, told the Impact Theory podcast that gaining enough support to create a third party is one of two options as the campaign heads toward November.
One is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
Kennedy posted on social media that he's willing to talk with leaders of any political party to further the goals that he's served for 4 decades. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Arizona Supreme Court has ruled that a question for voters to decide on the state's constitutional right for abortion will be on the November ballot. Correspondent Haya Panjwani is following that story.
Under the measure, abortions would be allowed until an embryo or fetus could survive outside the womb, typically around 24 weeks. There are some exceptions for late-term abortions to save the mother's life or to protect her physical or mental health. The decision comes on the heels of a ballot printing deadline in Arizona. The Arizona Right to Life, the organization that sued the ballot measure campaign, argued that the petition summary was misleading. The High Court justices rejected that argument, as well as the claim that the summary for the proposed amendment failed to mention it would overturn existing abortion laws if approved by voters. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Getting widespread acceptance for Eli Lilly's new weight loss drug. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's the Wednesday edition with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mild pullback for the markets. The rally takes a little breather after a very rare 8-day winning streak for both the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ, which followed that August 5th plunge for stocks, you may recall.
8-day winning streak averaging, let's say, more than 1% of gains per day if you take from the intraday low on August 5th. So obviously, time to cool off.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. Here's Freedom Capital's Jay Woods on CNBC.
You have seasonal headwinds. August, September, we're down the last 3 August, Septembers consistently. It's the roughest patch for the market. September, the most volatile month. So if people think that, oh, we've had this nice win streak, it's all clear. No, there's going to be a lot of chop in the next few weeks.
GMC expecting to outsell its electric truck competitors. It's launching the new Sierra pickup EV. High hopes for the truck that's available in a $100,000 version now, but cheaper versions are on the way. Boeing shares were a drag on the Dow yesterday as the company has yet another plane with a problem.
Boeing halting 777X test flights because they found a cracked part. And for the 777X, this adds to a bumpy road that started all the way back in 2013. Remember, that's when they announced this, 2013. And they had their first test flight in 2020. They said by 22 it'll be in service. No way. It's 2 years overdue. For new CEO Kelly Ortberg, add this to the list of things that need to be fixed as quickly as possible.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau.
Eli Lilly's CEO critical of insurance not covering that new weight loss drug.
Yeah, he says generally they're not, and it's time. New data on Eli Lilly's weight loss drug tirzepatide shows it slashes the risk of developing diabetes. It was a long-term trial. That's in the drugs Zepbound for weight loss and Mounjaro for diabetes. The CEO of Eli Lilly tells CNBC insurance companies really need to cover this.
We need insurance coverage. When you have hypertension, you expect to have coverage for a hypertensive medication. When you have high lipids, you expect to have coverage for a cholesterol medication. When you have diabetes, which we can now slow down or prevent, you expect to have coverage. Why is obesity different? It's a fundamental health detractor, and the federal government doesn't pay for these. Many employers don't. They should. This is going to save money for our country in the long term and keep people living a healthier, longer life.
Eli Lilly's David Ricks on CNBC. On today's watch list, we get earnings. Lots of retailers, Target, Macy's, TJ Maxx and Marshall's parent, TJX Companies, Urban Outfitters, and then there's Zoom.
Yes, there is. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. U.S. senators fall from grace when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The political career of one of the most powerful members of the Senate has ended as Bob Menendez has officially resigned as New Jersey's senior senator following a federal bribery conviction. More on the story from correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
capping roughly 5 decades in Democratic politics that took him from the local school board to chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Just over a month ago, a jury convicted Menendez on federal bribery charges. A top aide for New Jersey's Democratic Governor Phil Murphy will fill Menendez's seat until the November election results are certified. The winner of the election will be named to that seat. Democrats currently hold a very narrow majority in the U.S. Senate, so the stakes are high, although a Republican has not won a Senate election in Democratic-leaning New Jersey in over 5 decades. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Disney dropping what became known as its fine print argument in a wrongful death lawsuit and agrees to have the case heard in court. Following details of the matter, correspondent Margie Zaraletta.
Josh D'Amaro of Disney's theme park division says in a statement to the Associated Press that Disney will allow the lawsuit brought by Jeffrey Piccolo, whose wife died of an allergic reaction after eating at a restaurant in Disney Springs outside Orlando in October. Disney had tried to argue Piccolo could not sue Disney because he had agreed to settle any lawsuits out of court when he signed up for a 1-month trial subscription of Disney Plus in 2019. Piccolo's lawyer had argued it was absurd to believe that anyone who signed up for the streaming service had forever waived all rights to sue. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A House Republican investigation releases their impeachment report on President Biden. But what's next? I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
More fallout for former President Donald Trump surrounding comments he made about the Medal of Honor. I'm Clayton Neville.
Antony Blinken is visiting Gaza mediators in hopes of reaching a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. I'm Ed Donahue.
An Arizona truck driver was sentenced for a deadly crash that happened while he was watching a TikTok video. I'm Sue Aller.
Florida primary results and the new target of Chicago protesters.
It's the end of an era with J.Lo seeking a divorce from Ben Affleck. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning, back after these messages. At the national map with a check of weather on America in the Morning, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the outlook.
This afternoon and into the evening hours, moist southerly flow ahead of a cold front pushing eastward through the northern high plains brings the day's best risk for severe thunderstorms to areas from eastern Montana and the western Dakotas, southward across much of Wyoming, western Nebraska, and the majority of Colorado. Storms within this zone will be capable of producing hail, torrential downpours, and some localized damaging wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour at times. Otherwise, the coverage of more typical monsoon thunderstorms expands a bit today in the Four Corners region, with much of Utah and Arizona at least at risk for some downpours and rumbles of thunder by the afternoon hours. Outside of that, most areas from the west coast to the interior northwest should be dry today, but a disturbance pushing onshore through the day brings some showers from the northern Oregon coast across much of western Washington, while a separate storm means showers and perhaps some thunder near the Idaho-Montana border. In the south, a prolonged heat wave extends into yet another day as a swath of territory from New Mexico to parts of Mississippi and southern Kansas may have high temperatures near or above the 100-degree mark, approaching some record highs across the region. The long duration of this latest heat wave will only increase the risk for heat-related illnesses in the coming days. For the southeast, a stalled front can spark some showers and thunderstorms from the South Carolina coast through Florida, with dry conditions in many other places. From the mid-Atlantic into the Great Lakes region, another dry and rather comfortable day can be expected today, but a slow-moving disturbance brings numerous showers from New England and New York State into northern parts of Pennsylvania. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Hours before he was set to address the Democratic National Convention, House Republicans released a report they say details a pattern of corruption by President Joe Biden that's worthy of impeachment. John Stolnis reports from Washington some in the GOP want to hold an impeachment vote.
The report was nearly a year in the making, done by the House Ways and Means, Oversight, and Judicial Committees. And while it does not say the president has committed any crimes, it does say he has used his position as vice president under Barack Obama to enrich his family. The White House has dismissed the report, calling it a stunt and encouraging Republicans to, quote, move on. The chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith, tells Fox Business there are serious accusations in their report.
$27 million that came from foreign entities into the Biden family, including thousands of dollars that ultimately came from China to President Biden.
Smith says the report does not have the teeth to accuse the president of a crime, but urges the full House to use the report to launch an impeachment proceeding against the president.
The House has its own oversight responsibility, and this is what the report is, to present all the information, all the evidence to the entire House of Representatives, and the House should act accordingly.
On Monday, Trump responded to the report on the campaign trail in York, Pennsylvania, saying other Democrats, including Vice President Kamala Harris, had to know of his alleged corruption.
They're also calling out Biden for his handling of classified documents. They said during his tenure as vice president, Joe Biden removed highly sensitive classified documents from the White House despite having no authority to do so. And remember, Comrade Kamala, she knew everything.
In a statement, House Speaker Mike Johnson would not commit to a course of action, instead encouraging all Americans to read the report. John Stolnis, Washington.
Former President Trump is catching grief over comments he recently made about the Presidential Medal of Freedom being better than the military's Medal of Honor. Here's a closer look from America in the Morning's Clayton Neville.
The Republican frontrunner in the race for the presidency made the comments during a recent press conference when referring to billionaire Miriam Adelson, who's a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better.
Trump explained why.
Because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman.
The comments got some immediate pushback by Democrats on social media, and Trump offered what some considered to be an apology. Others say it wasn't enough. He spoke with a Pennsylvania NBC TV affiliate about the comments.
When I say better, I would rather in a certain way get it, because people that get the Congressional Medal of Honor, which I've given to many, are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. They get it posthumously. And when you get the Congressional Medal of Honor, I always consider that to be the ultimate, but it is a painful thing to get it. When you get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, it's usually for other things, like you've achieved great success in sports, or you've achieved great success someplace else. When you get the Medal of Honor, generally speaking, and I've met many of them and I've seen the families of many of them, this is an incredible honor, but it was a statement that is much more painful to get.
Former Trump Chief of Staff and retired Marine General John Kelly was quick to disagree with his former boss. He said that the comparison between the two awards isn't even close. The Harris-Walz campaign using the comments to highlight what they're painting as a disrespect for military by Trump. Others say it's strictly about money. Miriam Adelson, of course, the widow of a Trump mega donor. I'm Clayton Neville.
On a day when Israel's military retrieved the bodies of 6 hostages once held by Hamas, Secretary of State Antony Blinken left the Middle East with no deal on ending the war in Gaza, as Hamas never came to the negotiating table, despite Israel accepting a U.S.-led plan for peace. Correspondent Ed Donahue has the latest.
In a very constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he confirmed to me that Israel accepts the bridging proposal, that he supports it. It's now incumbent on Hamas to do the same.
Hamas says the latest deal is a reversal of what it had agreed to.
With every passing day, the well-being and lives of the hostages are in jeopardy. Time is of the essence because every single day, women, children, men in Gaza are suffering without access to adequate food, medicine, and at risk of being wounded or dying in fighting that they didn't start and they cannot stop.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met recently with right-wing groups of families of fallen soldiers and hostages who oppose a ceasefire. Blinken is in Doha.
It's so clearly in the interests of all concerned, starting with Israel, to bring this to a close.
Blinken says a ceasefire deal could pave the way for more peace agreements in the Middle East.
And of course, it's key to getting the hostages home, which Israelis desperately want to see happen, and we want to see happen. We need to see happen. There are Americans who remain hostage in Gaza.
Blinken says Netanyahu agreed to a proposal to bridge gaps in the deal. He called on Hamas to do the same.
With our partners in Egypt and Qatar, our message is simple, it's clear, and it's urgent. We need to get the ceasefire and hostage agreement over the finish line.
I'm Ed Donahue.
When we return, more pro-Palestinian protesters arrested in Chicago. Plus, truck driver learns his fate after deadly crash. We'll have those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. I'm John Trout. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. In Maine, a long-awaited report has been released regarding the state's worst-ever mass shooting in Lewiston and if it could have been prevented. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
In October of last year, 40-year-old Robert Card killed 18 people in Lewiston, Maine. Daniel Wathen is the chair of a special commission created to investigate the attacks.
The Saginaw County Sheriff's Office had sufficient probable cause to take Card into protective custody under Maine's yellow flag law and to initiate a petition to confiscate any firearms he possessed or over which he had control.
The report also faulted the Army Reserves.
Card's commanding officer knew of his auditory hallucinations, increasingly aggressive behavior, collection of guns, ominous comments about his intentions.
While the report was a fact-finding mission, no recommendations were made. I'm Shelley Adler.
A truck driver will spend the next 2 decades in prison convicted of causing a deadly highway crash while he was watching TikTok on his phone behind the wheel. Sue Aller has that story.
Eyes on the road. Unfortunately, truck driver Danny Tyner was distracted watching a TikTok video which caused a collision involving 6 vehicles, some of which caught on fire. 5 people died on Highway 10 in Arizona in January of 2023. Sarah Stanford's son Andrew was one of them. She spoke to KNX VTV 15 Phoenix.
It just blows my mind. That is a deadly machine, and you're playing on TikTok? That's irresponsible and so negligent.
At first, Tyner told police he was checking a message on his work tablet. But when the FBI checked his phone, it was revealed that at the exact time of the crash, he was actively using TikTok. Authorities say he was also speeding, going 68 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone.
No, there's consequences to everything you do, and he needs to pay those consequences.
Tyner pleaded guilty to 5 counts of negligent homicide and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. I'm Sue Aller.
Not much in the way of surprises in primary elections held in Florida, including in the state's 1st district, where Congressman Matt Gaetz cruised to victory against a challenge from a candidate backed by former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. For the Senate, incumbent Republican Senator Rick Scott and Democrat Debbie Mucarsel-Powell each won their primaries by wide margins and will meet in the November election. America in the Morning continues. Trial underway in Michigan of several Detroit-area mall security guards charged with a man's death 10 years ago. Correspondent Julie Walker has the story.
3 security guards are on trial this week for involuntary manslaughter in the death of Mackenzie Cochran, who was pinned to the ground during a fierce struggle in 2014 at a suburban Detroit shopping mall. On Tuesday, a witness testified that Cochran repeatedly said he couldn't breathe, but guards did not let up on him. An autopsy found Cochran, who had an enlarged heart, died of asphyxiation. He He had refused to leave Northland Center after tension with a jewelry store owner. Lawyers for the security guards say he was a risk to the public. 5 guards were involved. One already pleaded guilty. Another died in 2017. I'm Julie Walker.
Protests in Chicago moved away from the Democratic National Convention and they turned violent. Lisa Dwyer reports that over a dozen pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested when they clashed with police outside Chicago's Israeli consulate.
Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters charged a line of police in an intense standoff with hundreds of officers outside the Israeli consulate, about 2 miles away from the Democratic National Convention.
Please be into custody by the Chicago Police Department.
Protesters chanted.
Let us go! Let us go!
The protests were in stark contrast to Monday's rally, which was largely peaceful and was far below estimates of organizers who had predicted more than 20,000 people would show up. More protests are planned throughout the week. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Condé Nast, parent company to the world-famous Vogue and New Yorker magazine, strikes a deal with OpenAI for content. Here's Chuck Palm with the story in today's Tech News.
ChatGPT parent company OpenAI signs a content deal with Condé Nast. The financial terms of the deal have not been disclosed, but the Sam Altman-led OpenAI said on Tuesday that a multi-year partnership with Condé Nast to display content from its brands, such as Vogue and The New Yorker, within the AI startup products, including ChatGPT and the new SearchGPT prototype. OpenAI signed similar deals in the past with Time Magazine, The Financial Times, Business Insider owned Axel Springer, and several other magazines over the past few months. Content deals are crucial for training artificial intelligence models, and some media organizations such as the New York Times have sued the Microsoft-backed OpenAI in the past over copyright infringement issues. Brad Lightcap, CEO at OpenAI, had said their company is committed to working with Condé Nast and other news publishers to ensure that AI plays a larger role in news discovery and delivery. Chime in at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Midweek Sports is in. Here's our Robert Workman.
Baseball Tuesday, the Guardians scored 6 times in the 12th to take down the Yankees 9-5. David Fry tripled with the bases loaded for manager Stephen Vogt.
We left a couple people in scoring position tonight, and it's just something that we needed. And for him to come through, I know that's going to be big for him, and it catapulted that huge inning.
Juan Soto and Aaron Judge hit back-to-back jacks for his honor, number 45 on the season. The Orioles clocked out the Mets 9-5. Baltimore regains the lead in the AL East. Angels punched out the Royals 9-5, ending KC's 5-game winning streak. Brewers held off the Cardinals 3-2 for their 6th straight win. Braves beat the Phillies 3-1 in the battle for the top spot in the NL East. Reynaldo Lopez struck out 10 in his return from the injured list. Pirates shut out the Rangers 4-0. Mitch Keller and the Fellers with a 3-hitter. Rays blanked the A's 1-0. Jose Siri's 8th inning tater was the only run of the night. Shane Baz pitched into the 8th for his first win in over 2 years after Tommy John surgery. A lot of other lucky number 8s too. Jaron Duran's 8th inning blast boosted the Red Sox over the Astros. Padres got 4 in the bottom of the 8th to trip the Twins. Jurickson Profar hit the go-ahead 3-run wallop, and the Dodgers sank the Mariners on Jason Hayward's tie-breaking 3-run rocket in the 8th. Blue Jays buried the Reds 5 dingers, 2 from George Springer. Wins for the Giants, Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Cubs. The final tennis major of the year begins Monday, the U.S. Open in New York. Jannik Sinner will be the top seed on the men's side after avoiding a suspension for steroid use. The International Tennis Integrity Agency determined a physiotherapist had used a banned substance on the Italian star during a massage. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, wedded bliss no more for this Hollywood A-list power couple. That and more when our show continues. Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. Just 2 years after they tied the knot, Bennifer is now no more. Kevin Carr reports Jennifer Lopez has filed for divorce from husband Ben Affleck in a Los Angeles court.
Another Hollywood marriage is coming to an end. Jennifer Lopez filed for divorce from husband Ben Affleck on Tuesday, 2 years to the date of their traditional wedding ceremony. The couple first met 2 decades ago and had a high-profile romance against the backdrop of 2 underperforming films, Jersey Girl and Geely.
Let me tell you something. In every relationship, there's a bull and a cow. I'm the bull. You're the cow.
You got that?
Yeah, I got it. Bull
However, before they took their wedding vows, the couple separated and tied the knot with different people, and each marriage ended in divorce. 3 years ago, after Affleck had broken it off with wife Jennifer Gardner, J.Lo and he rekindled their relationship.
I'm engaged! It was totally unexpected. Ben came in and he got down on one knee.
They eloped to Las Vegas in 2022, releasing whirlwind highlights on social media.
I was just saving it and saving it and saving it, and now I'm wearing it on my wedding day.
Recently, however, there has been trouble in paradise with rumors of marital problems dogging their relationship. Lopez took the first official step, and TMZ reports she had filed paperwork without a lawyer. Additionally, TMZ says there is no prenuptial agreement. The stars must now hash out the money coming from their real estate and projects over the last 2 years. Lopez had an album released and films on Netflix and Amazon, while Affleck played Batman in The Flash and directed the award-nominated film Air. I'm Kevin Carr.
Saying that raising a hand to kids in the classroom should never be allowed, the state of Illinois has become just the 5th state in the union, along with Iowa, Maryland, New York, and New Jersey, to ban corporal punishment, including spanking, paddling, or hitting in all schools. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
A law signed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker means the state will soon become one of just 5 to prohibit corporal punishment in all schools, along with New Jersey, Iowa, Maryland, and New York. The law takes effect in January and expands a prohibition against paddling, spanking, or hitting implemented in public schools 30 years ago. Illinois State Representative Margaret Croak of Chicago was inspired to take up the issue after the American Association of Pediatrics called for an end to the practice. The association says it can increase behavioral and mental health problems, impair cognitive development, and is disproportionately applied to black males and students with disabilities. 17 U.S. states still allow some sort of corporal punishment in schools. National legislation introduced by Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut has stalled in committee. I'm Jennifer King.
Some of us may wish that law were in force when we were in school. America in the Morning for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.